You're the people that brought these things. And you are the people of John Wesley, who this hall is named after. This glorious hall was named after John Wesley, one of the greatest reformers in Western civilization, who worked with William Wilberforce. And we're in the year of William Wilberforce. And I want to tell you about William Wilberforce. This is a man who from the early 20s was with a group in Clapham. And I hope I pronounced that right. He was in a group, and there was an event in which 132 black Africans were discarded, thrown overboard on a ship called the Zong. It was a slave ship coming from West Africa to the Americas. It was an English ship. 132 black people were thrown into the ocean and drowned, and this was considered legal by the laws of the land. And this group of young people who still had that spark of hope recognized how despicable this act was, how unacceptable this act was, and they started a small group of abolitionists to end the slave trade at a time when almost every single member of parliament was supported by the slave lobby. Things haven't changed all that much. But Wilberforce did not give up. He worked day and night. He was an incredible connector. He connected with people all over the country. He got people to sign things. He brought these in as a member of parliament. He worked with beautiful people like Hannah More. And several years ago, I suggested to the Muslim women in this country to start the Hannah More Benevolence Society. Because you should know Hannah More. You should know who Hannah More is. She's a beautiful English woman. She was stunningly beautiful in her looks. When she came to London, she took everybody by storm. She was a playwright. She was a literary figure. She was a poetess. She was all of these things. But in the end, she had a spiritual conversion, and she became one of the staunchest anti-slavery spokespeople in this country. She started night schooling. This is one of her great contributions. This is England to me. England is not the tyranny of Ireland. That's the worst of human nature that you find in every civilization. That's not England to me. England to me is these incredible ideals embodied by people like Florence Nightingale. I love Florence Nightingale. I read all these different works she'd written. I told my wife, you're the only woman I know who's jealous of a woman that died over 100 years ago. I fell in love with Florence Nightingale. Florence Nightingale said, England needs to go to the Sufis. She wrote this in her book. She said England needs to go to the Sufis. And Florence Nightingale entered the Sultan Hassan Mosque, where our Grand Mufti gives the khutbah. And she said for the first time, she found what she was looking for. She said, I never found this in the churches of England. She said, I found equality, and I said, oh, would that there was a place for women in this religion. You know, they chased her out with a stick. And she said, I don't blame them. She went to Al-Azhar. She was struck by the spirituality, and she says in her diary, she said, I've heard in my heart something telling me, turn to Mecca, face Mecca, face Mecca. All of humanity is one. We are all under one God, and there is salvation for all of us. I kept hearing in my heart, there is no God but God. Believe in the one true God. She was a Unitarian. She was not a Trinitarian. This is Florence Nightingale, one of the great icons of the British people. And she saw the beauty of Islam. This is a woman who was given a qilada, this extraordinary medal by the Sultan Abd al-Majid of the Ottoman Empire, because she came and served the Turkish soldiers that were victims of the Crimean War, as well as she served the British soldiers, because she didn't differentiate between people. This is England to me. This is the England I want to see. This is the England I want to remind these people of who they are. They've forgotten who they are. These are the people of the great reforms of Western civilization, and we, of all people, should be reminding them. We share these things with you. You've forgotten who you are like we've forgotten who we are. This is the age of senility. We're all in spiritual dementia. Really, we're in spiritual dementia. This is the old age, the dotage of humanity. And we need reminders. We've got collective Alzheimer's disease. And some of us has sometimer's disease. We forget and then we remember. This is England to me. And it flows in my blood. I have ancestors from this land. This is my qawm. Ya qawmi. This is what every prophet said to his people. Oh, my people. They weren't following his way. They were fighting him. They were opposing him. Ya qawmi. Inni Rasulullah ilaykum. Ya qawmi ma biya safaha. No, I'm not stupid. He didn't say, bal antum sufaha. Antum kuffar. Antum aghbiya. Antum hamqa. Ala taroni. He didn't say that. Ma biya sifaha. No, you're wrong. I want good for you. In uridu illa islaha. Mastatat. I just want to help as much as I'm able to. This is our teaching, to go out and to engage these people. And I want to end, because it's been a long night, and you have somebody. I was on an airplane, and this man came up to me. He said, brother, I love your work. And I was like, mashallah, thank you so much. He said, no, really, it's just so amazing what you did, and it was incredible, and this. But let me ask you one question. I said, sure. He said, why'd you give up singing? So after I sang him a few bars of Peace Train, one of my favorite songs, I told him I lost my voice. No, I said, that's Yusuf Islam. We have the same name. There's 3 Yusufs tonight. It's Yusuf Muka'ab, Yusuf to the 3rd power. So, but I want to end with a story about one of my favorite people. And this is, who can tell me, not from the ulama, but who can tell me who Sayyidina Umar's favorite poet was? People say, Sayyidina Umar liked poetry? Didn't he just listen to the Quran? The favorite poet of Umar ibn al-Khattab was Zuhair ibn Abi Sulma. Zuhair ibn Abi Sulma. Who is Zuhair ibn Abi Sulma? He's the father of Ka'b ibn Zuhair, the man who wrote the Burda. He's the father of also his younger brother, Ka'b's younger brother, who became Muslim before Zuhair, before Ka'b. Zuhair did not meet the Prophet. He died 1 year before. But I want to tell you a little bit about why Zuhair wrote his Mu'alaqa, and then I'm done. And I want to use this as a metaphor for what we need to do. There is a war, the Arabs call something Ayyam al-Arab. Ayyam al-Arab are the days of the Arabs. That's why Allah changed Ayyam al-Arab to Ayyamillah. وَذَكِّرْهُمْ بِأَيَّامِ Because the Arabs had their days, Allah has His days. The days of the Arabs were momentous things that happened to them. They say, Ash-shi'ru diwan al-Arab. They used to write their history in their poetry. There was a war called Harbu Dahis. Harbu Dahis, you know who Dahis is? It's amazing we know his name. Dahis was a horse. It's called the War of Dahis the horse. And Dahis was owned by a man who was Zuhair ibn Qais al-Absi. He owned a horse called Dahis. He had a friend who was from the Dhibyan tribe, Hudayfa bin Malik. He had a horse called Ghabra. Now, Hudayfa was very jealous of Dahis, the horse of Zuhair. So he asked him to race. So the 2 horses, they decided they'd race 100 arrow shots. They shoot 1 time, 2 times, for 100 times, and then they race. Well, the horses started out, and Ghabra was winning. But once it got into the heavy sand, Dahis took the lead. Well, there was a group of Dhibyanites who were hiding in ambush, and they ambushed Dahis and stopped him from winning the race, so Ghabra won. So what was the bet? 100 camels. So Hudayfa said, give me 100 camels, because you lost. And then the